What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here, and I know it's a new scenery, new change of things. This little spot is actually in the fish room where the normal backdrop is. It's just in the opposite end. And Margaret, my fiance, decided for my birthday to make me a little planting station and or filming spot, and I think it's really nice. I really like this. I think it's going to be a good change to videos. That's not to say we won't film in front of the tanks from time to time, but I do like this area a lot. I think it's really nice, and I would, if you guys enjoy it, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. It's obviously a lot bigger, but this is just kind of the angle that I wanted to get. There's also like a little planting rack next to me, so when I do potting videos of some plants that we're going to be getting into in the future, some house plants and stuff, it'd be really cool. So not to say that aquariums are completely gone out of the channel, just that this is going to be a little change of pace, and I think it's really good. So without any more updates, let's get into what the video is actually about, and that's actually going to be banana plants, or particularly banana trees. And this is actually a plant that can be used in kind of just as a houseplant setting, or actually can be used in a pond and or aquarium. So let me show you Bruce. This is Bruce. This is well, for me it's only about a year old plant, but I'd have to guess it's probably about 2 years, maybe a year and a half. But I got this guy last Christmas. He's quite big. I call him Bruce because Bruce the banana tree just sounds cool, and therefore that's his name. And I really like this plant. It's one of my favorite house plants, and it does have some browning on the leaves. We're going to go into that, but I did want to say this plant is particularly one of my favorites. I do have a couple other that I really like also, but this guy is one of my favorites just because he grows so big. When I first got him, he was only about this big, and now he's all the way up to there. He's huge, massive, just in a year alone, and he's definitely taking, this is a big pot here. I think it's probably about a 10-inch pot, maybe 12, but he's doing really well. So why do I like Bruce, and why is it good for both houseplant, aquarium, or pond plant? Well, let's talk about it. So, banana trees, they grow in the tropics. So they're native to, say, Florida, that kind of region. They like hot and humid areas. They also like having wet roots. So this guy likes damp soil, does not like drying out. So it's not one of those houseplants that most people will say, you only have to water houseplants maybe like once a week. This guy likes to drink. He will drink a lot of water every day, so it's best to check the soil, make sure it doesn't dry out. As soon as I notice the very little bit of the top starts to dry out, I water him because he likes to drink. So, like I said, tropical, humid areas. So for a houseplant, he's great for that because most homes have a relative humidity, and if you have an aquarium in your house, even better because you have more humidity. So sticking this guy right next to your aquarium is going to be beneficial because he's going to get the humidity from your aquarium. Or if you have a very dry house, say you live in Arizona or New Mexico where it gets very dry, or Texas, it's like a dry climate there, you can always put a humidity tray, which is basically you take like a little plastic tray that the pot would normally sit in, you fill this with pebbles, and then you fill it up with water, and that will allow the water to evaporate, and you just put water in here every day, and that will make it so that there's a microclimate around the tree. So what else about Bruce? Well, Bruce, like I said, has some browning leaves around, and that is typically signs of underwatering or not enough humidity, which I think it's actually not enough humidity because I recently moved this guy from where he was. Now, he was in this back room where I am filming now, except he was in the bathroom. This room gets particularly cold. It doesn't have a good insulation, so in the winter, it's actually probably about like 60 to 50 degrees down here. And that's not good because the plants don't do well in those cold climates. So I took him out of here, I moved him into my living room where it's obviously a bit warmer, and he bounced back because all his leaves are starting brown. He's actually grown several new leaves since I moved him, and he's doing great, which is a good sign. If you also look here in the middle, there is a new leaf coming out from inside there, and there's this new leaf also. So he's doing really well, growing really good, has a good sturdy trunk. Like this thing is massive there, and he's doing really well. So doesn't like cold, so if you have him in a cold room or a cold basement, you may not want to keep him in there. Make sure wherever you have it, it's at least 60 or above. They don't like being cold. What else? They like bright indirect light or direct light. Either one will work. If you have them under direct light, they will need probably more watering. They're going to grow much faster, and they do tend to have the ability to get really hot and burn their leaves. So just make sure you're watering them so they stay moist and they don't occur any burning. Or just put them in a bright indirect light. Right now, this guy is actually in He's in a bright area, but not tremendously direct light, so but he's doing really well, and I can't complain. He's actually above the window line, so if you think about where your windows are in your house, he's on a shelf that's higher than where the windows are, and he's still doing fantastic. So Bruce is liking it there, but he'll eventually go back into the bathroom once spring hits. Now, like I said, I got this guy last December, but I don't recommend ordering any kind of tropical plants during the winter because they do not like the cold weather. It's not a good idea, so I would definitely hold off ordering one of these guys. And speaking of ordering, we will actually be having more banana trees in stock in March to May because that's pond season and we'll have some pond plants in. This was a particular one. We actually get them in. They're almost about the same size as Bruce. Not the same leaf span, but the stalk is about as tall, maybe slightly smaller. So he's probably, I would say he's almost 2 feet tall now, just from bare root to the tip of the leaf. He's probably about 2 or 3 feet. So you get somewhere around like 16, 20 inches from us typically. That's what we normally got in last year, so I imagine it'll be similar this year. And they make really good plants. Like I said, house plants, aquarium plants, or pond plants. So let's talk about pond and aquarium plants because that's when we get them in, is for pond season. So when you have a pond, if you live in, well, really no matter where you live, you can have a pond. You just can only have a pond during the spring, summer, and early fall months. Once it starts getting colder out, you have to bring in all your stuff or let it die back or whatever. Now, this is not a plant that will die back and come back the following year. It is not one of those perennials. It is just a living plant. It cannot handle the cold weather. So if you live in an area where the climate is going to get cold and freezing, you don't want to keep this guy outside during the fall or winter. So what I recommend is when you have a pond, take a pot like this. What you can actually do is poke some holes on the side of the pot, and that will allow water to flow through it. I would use a better growing medium. I wouldn't essentially use soil. They can go good in just soil, but if you have a pond or an aquarium that you want to keep this guy in, I would change out the soil for aqua soil, because aqua soil is going to give you a lot less problems when moving in and out of the aquariums. So I would definitely do aqua soil in this guy if you were going to keep him in water all the time. Now, if you were to put him in a pond, I wouldn't submerge it all the way up to the stalk of the plant, so I wouldn't submerge it all the way here, but about halfway. And leave this guy about halfway in the water, so about here. And that'll allow the roots down here to really grab a lot of water because these guys can drink, and drink they can. And then the top will be moist soil, which won't rot the stalk. So don't go too far up with the water. So find maybe like a rock or a ledge in the pond, stick them on it. Same thing when it comes to the aquarium. Now, if you have some incredible palinarium or rig that you want to try and grow one of these guys in, that's completely fine. There are many different variations. This is I think this is a dwarf Cavendish type banana. It will produce fruit. They're very small fruit, but it will produce fruit. And there are other types like Truly Tiny, which is another type that we have. We normally get dwarf Cavendish and Truly Tiny, so you could get either one from us. And these will grow to be about 4 to 8. I've seen 8 feet. A lot of people say no more than 6 feet, but I've seen people grow these 8 feet. Then again, it could be a different species. They might have just been incorrect. But I've seen them get about 8 feet tall. So these guys can get very large over time. And it only takes them probably like 2 or 3 years to reach full maturity like that because they grow super fast. Like I said, I got this guy last year and he was about a quarter of the size. He was about here and now he's there. So he's grown really good. So what else about banana plants? They're just really nice and fun to look at because like I'm here in New Jersey. And, you know, it's cold outside right now, and this guy just, you know, kind of reminds me of the beach out in Florida. Having a tropical plant like this is just really cool to have in the house. Another thing that I should mention about the banana trees, they actually propagate through little pups, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see, but there's actually a little pup. You see that little green at the bottom? That's actually a pup forming. So he's going to produce a new little baby plant off the side of him that'll grow, and then I can separate it from the mama plant. And it's looking alright. I don't know if it's gonna, I don't want to mess with it too much because then it may mess it up. There was actually another pup in here at one point, but it didn't survive. I think that's when it got too cold in the back room, so it's doing well. But yeah, it's just, you know, you got to keep the soil moist. Just make sure you water this almost like every couple of days. Don't let it dry out. They don't like to that. It's okay for the bottom leaves to shed like this. Like you can see here, this is dried up leaf, because the leaves form the stalk as they grow. It's really cool how this plant works because it's a tree. So as the leaf grows out, and if the leaf, like this leaf will eventually die because it's browning right here, so this will eventually die out. This leaf will kind of fall off at the stem here, but the stalk will remain intact, and that just allows the plant to keep growing and growing. Eventually this will probably get very hard, if it's not already getting, I mean it's hard, but it'll get much harder. Right now it's still kind of soft material, so it's doing really well though. I really like it. I think everybody should have a banana tree in their house. It's just really cool, and like I said, really easy plant when it comes to it. It's one of those that, well, yeah, you do have to make sure it gets watered. I just kind of forget about it, and it's like I go over there, I check it when I water some of the plants, or if it's really hot and airy day, I'll go and double check, just stick my finger on the soil. If it feels moist, it's good. If it doesn't feel moist, water it. And definitely get like a little drain pan to allow the water to drain out the bottom if you're keeping it as a house plant. Because allowing it to dry out is actually very beneficial to the root system, but can be kept in the water. Like I said, we kept ours in a tank at an aquarium with about an inch of water, and they would just absorb the water, so they're completely capable of doing both. And that's about it. I think you guys should definitely give banana trees a try in the spring, and I think they'll do really well. I think you guys will find a new kind of passion for these guys. Anyway, if you have a banana tree, let me know in the comments below what you like about it. If it's one of your favorite plants like this one is to me. Bruce is a fantastic plant. I really like him. And let me know if you're thinking about getting one. I mean, they're super easy, guys. I'm telling you, one of the easier house plants that I've had. Honestly, it's super easy compared to some of them. And the good thing about these guys, the one thing that I forgot to mention here, is they're super rewarding, because when they're growing fast. So it's not one of those slow growing plants that you like don't know if it's growing, or that it's growing really slow and you can't tell. This guy grows super fast. Like you see new leaves almost every week, and like you could tell that they're new leaves because they're just bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's an incredible plant. So super rewarding. Grab it. Like I said, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of banana plants, if you have one, if you're interested in getting one now. If you want them, like I said, visit our website in between March and May, and you'll definitely be able to pick one up. If we don't have them, message me, and I will try and get them during those months for you. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, or if you like banana plants, leave a like on the video. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to get more houseplant or aquarium plant related content in the future. If you want to check out the last video that we did on our staghorn fern that I got in from the internet, you can check right there. It's rather large. And if you want to check out a paludarium setup that we did that you can actually probably figure out some way of putting a banana tree in there, you could click right there. And we'll see you guys next time. Also, happy holidays.